Hey, how you doing? This is Three Count Commentaries. This is your host, Mongo Slade. So today we're going to talk about Impact Wrestling from January the 26th, 2021. And we start the show with a Rich Swann promo, which is not a good way to start the show. He talked about all he's ever wanted to do is be a wrestler, and now he's the world champion. And he sees how big of a target he is, but he wants to slow down, and he says that he wants to talk to Tommy Dreamer. So Tommy Dreamer comes out there. So then Rich Swann talks about how Tommy Dreamer helps out everybody and that he's done a lot for the business. And he also talked about how much he was a mark for ECW and all that stuff. And he says February 13th is Tommy Dreamer's 50th birthday. And that he wants Tommy Dreamer to give him the honor of defending I'm about to say AEW, the Impact World Championship against him for his 50th birthday. And the commentators were immediate in jumping on this by saying, well, Tommy Dreamer's win-loss record doesn't really necessitate a title match, but this is more like a lifetime achievement title shot. That he's done so much for everybody else, that he's done so much. His win-loss record in the real world is what's pushing this. So, of course, Sami Callihan comes out, and he's pretty pissed, and he says that Rich Swann shouldn't be giving out title shots because Rich Swann's embarrassed the company by losing to Kenny Omega. And he wants a title shot. But Sami Callihan lost to Eddie Edwards. So why would he get a title shot? So then here comes Chris Bay, and Chris Bay comes out, and he says that February 13th is also his birthday, and he'll be turning 25, and he wants a title shot. But here's the thing, Chris Bay also lost. He lost to TJP. So then Moose comes out. Moose says that everyone is scared to challenge him for his title, and that Swann never beat him. So Swann says that, yeah, he offered Moose his title shot last week, and Moose says passed. So he says he's moving on. So here's the thing. Moose also lost. He lost the same match that Rich Swann lost. So everybody who lost at the pay-per-view wants a title shot. None of the winners do. All of the fucking losers. All of the losers want a title shot. Except Tommy Dreamer. He was offered a title shot. Which is strange. So a fight broke out, obviously. Willie Mack came out to even things up to help the baby faces. And then Ken Shamrock appeared out of the darkness, and the brawl continued with the heels taking advantage and beating everybody up. So then after this, Rich Swann and company stormed to Scott D'Amore's office, and they demanded a 6-man tag or 8-man match with against these guys. And Scott D'Amore says, well, you guys want the match, fine, but you're shorthanded. But thankfully, I got somebody for you guys to partner with. And because nobody cares about Impact, I'm just going to go straight to collecting all this stuff together. So then the main event of the show was Moose, Sami Callihan, Ken Shamrock, and Chris Bay versus Rich Swann, Tommy Dreamer, Willie Mack, and Trey Miguel, who apparently came back and dyed his hair blonde. So Trey Miguel was one of the Rascals, for people who don't know. Trey Miguel was supposedly leaving with the other two Rascals. Now those guys are MSK and NXT, and he was talking about Trey Miguel, was saying that he had some issues at home that he wanted to take care of before he decided what he wanted to do. And his decision was to go back to Impact. Now, going back to Impact is it's a decision to chuckle at. I mean, it's certainly a decision. But at the same time, he was the guy in the group that they were pushing. You know, the other two guys weren't really doing that much in Impact. They were kind of being made a fool of. And Trey wanting to separate himself and grow on his own is a very mature decision. So while I kind of laugh at the idea of being dumb enough to go back to Impact, it might end up being a smart decision in the long run. I mean, NXT is always going to be there. WWE will always be there. So he's a young guy. So if it doesn't work out, this Impact run doesn't work out, he can always go later. So it doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make sense, but it also doesn't hurt him none. And he dyed his hair blonde, which I don't understand what's up with all these dudes, especially these black guys now dyeing their hair. It's so strange. And it was also made official that Tommy Dreamer will get that title match on February the 13th. And the main event was won by Trey Miguel, who pinned Sami Callihan with a counter. Afterwards, Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock beat up a referee as they went off the air. So that was all very interesting. I don't understand why they couldn't separate the wheat from the chaff. Actually have some of these winners come out there and want title matches. There was no real AEW talk this week outside of a paid ad from Tony Khan, which we'll get into in a couple of minutes. So that was the opening and closing segments of Impact. The first match was Josh Alexander and Matt Cardona versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. So I saw on Twitter that Matt Cardona is not actually signed to Impact. That he's just doing shots apparently, and it's really strange. You know, like I don't see why he just doesn't sign and stay here. Because I mean he did a run in AEW. Now I guess he's doing a run in Impact, whatever. But Matt Cardona actually pinned Madman Fulton, so Josh Alexander and Matt Cardona actually won the match. I immediately groaned because if you don't follow this channel, or at least follow my Impact reviews, I am a big fan of Ace Austin. And he loses almost every fucking tag team match because Impact just likes to bury Madman Fulton. He fucking loses all the time. And I get that the guy's big and he's green. If you need to protect him, then keep him outside the ring. Because you're really just shitting on Ace Austin by having him constantly lose with Madman Fulton and actually not, developing any type of story with this. Like, if a guy's constantly losing on your team, you kind of get frustrated, I think. I mean, that's what happened with the North, right? Ethan Page kept losing, so eventually the North kind of started to fracture and fall apart. Anyway, Josh Alexander was pretty good. Matt Cardona was who he was. And because nobody cares about Impact, I'm going to, there was another segment featuring Matt Cardona. I'm just going to link that here. So Matt Cardona goes into the back and he tries to fist bump his buddy Brian Myers because, they're real life buds. And Brian Myers kind of just stared at his fist and looked the other way. And he looked to Josh Alexander and he says, hey, I offered you to be my partner. And instead you go with my Janetti. He called Matt Cardona his Janetti and said that, I'm about to go beat a former world champion while you deal with this guy. And he walks away. And Matt Cardona was kind of like, ooh, he's bad mood Brian. So I'm guessing that's going to be his nickname now. It's going to be Bad Mood Brian Myers, which sucks. Well, since nobody cares about Impact, I'm going to continue linking like objects because Brian Myers wrestled in the second match against Eddie Edwards, and he won by disqualification because Eddie Edwards put his thumb into Brian Myers' eye and refused to let it go after the count of 5. And then after he had gotten disqualified, he bit Brian Myers in the eye and busted him open. And so they're telling this story that Eddie Edwards is kind of snapping, that, he's being pushed to the limit, that, everybody's going too far. Everything is going too far. He's getting very frustrated. He's becoming a different person. Okay, whatever. If this gets rid of those fucking braids in his head and gets him out of those jean shorts, I don't care. Okay, so, but as long as he's going to keep being in jean shorts and having that braid in his hair, I'm not interested. Dude is coasting. Eddie Edwards is just coasting. But I don't know what the plan is with Brian Myers. I have no idea what the upside is with him. So backstage, Rohit Raju finally found out that his match with TJP is non-title, but he's not that upset. He is enlisting the help of a surprise person to help him, and he promised to go to the top, that they would go to the top together, but he's got to beat TJP and then beat TJP twice because he has to beat him in the non-title match in order to get the title match, and then he's going to win the title and all that stuff, right? So Matt Hardy and Private Party was backstage for some odd reason celebrating that they're the number one contenders. Matt Hardy tries to take credit for their win. Of course, they say, well, no. So then he says that the Young Bucks were the best tag team in existence, second best tag team in existence, I'm guessing, after the Hardy Boys. Then he says that he's going to offer Private Party a bounty. He's going to put a bounty on the AEW and the Impact Tag Team Championship. So they're going to get bonuses if they win those titles. Well, he used the word bounty. And then they kind of was like, ooh, bounty, what? And then he was like, how about bonus? Let's call it a bonus. And then he says he wants those guys to be winners. This was the only AEW thing on the show, and it sucked. Matt Hardy and Private Party are fine, I guess, but I just have a hard time carrying. It's difficult. So the Fire and Flavor stuff. Let's talk about that, because Fire and Flavor, Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan, they're trying to do this thing where it's the Fire and Flavor celebration of them winning the tag team championships and the women's tag team titles. Let's put it like that, the Knockouts tag team titles. And they were concerned about the litness of their event because they said, "Oh, the event is not going to be so lit. They didn't sell so many tickets. They were worried about the catering and all that stuff, and only ugly people bought tickets, so they didn't know what to do." So they said, "Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll turn it into a masquerade party, and that they'll tell all the ugly people to wear masks, so there'll be a masquerade ball." And then they says they need something else. They were missing something. So then here comes Johnny Swinger. He's walking by, and he got these train of women. He's got like 3 or 4 women with him, and he says that Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan were his exes. As he walks by, like, don't pay them no mind. They're just my exes. so, so Tasha sees Johnny Swinger, and she gets a really bad idea. And later on, we find out that Johnny Swinger is running like a gambling parlor out of a room. It's called the Swingers Palace or something like that. And he's running this thing out of the locker room. And there is Johnny Bravo and Fallah Bob playing cards and gambling. The girls are in there. They got beer and stuff. So Fire and Flavor come in, and they offer Johnny Swinger a free ticket if his girls can be waitresses and serve the food and everything at their Fire and Flavor thing. Johnny Swinger, of course, accepts. Then Johnny Bravo wants free tickets, and she says, "Okay, well, we'll give you a free ticket because you're with Johnny." And then Fallah Bob wants a free ticket, and they're like, "No, you have to buy a ticket." So then we get the Fire and Flavor Fest, a festival, and it was just a rip on the Fire Fest. If you ever seen the Fire Fest documentary on Netflix, it was pretty much that. The funny thing about this was Alicia Edwards as the MC, because she was being real wiggerish. And she was just like, she was talking about, "Yo, drop that beat." And she was just going real, it was real funny. Like her pretending to be like black was actually funny. It was like legit. It was like legit funny. The Swingerellas were in the ring. They were just sitting in the chairs, kind of stone faced, with like expressionless. Johnny Bravo was wearing a masquerade mask. There was a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man outside the ring for some odd reason. There was a table in the ring with champagne, and there was cartons, which was supposedly the catering. So Fire and Flavor get in the ring, and they're talking about how lit this is going to be and how great this party is, and they're not getting no reaction. There's like 3 people there, and of course nobody is talking and mingling and nothing like that. So then the referee says, "This is a dumpster fire," and then he gets roasted by saying, "How are you dressing as a dumpster fire?" And he's literally dressed like a referee, like he's wearing the stripes and everything in the fucking ring. This is so stupid. This is incredibly stupid. So they decide they demand that the Swingerellas pass out the catering, and they pass out the catering, and the Swingerellas, it's like a carton, like you might get from a restaurant, like if you go to like Applebee's or something like that. So they give out these cartons, and inside is like cheese with like the wrapper still on it, like sliced cheese that's still in the wrapper. And I think it was supposed to be like a sandwich or something like that. Now they were talking it up like it's soul food, like it's greens and cornbread and all that type of stuff. And then they opened it up, and it was just sliced cheese in a carton. So of course people started getting kind of pissed. And then this is when Kiera Hogan notices that there's a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man outside the ring. And she's like, "Okay, I know this is Fallah Bob." So she goes outside the ring, and she's, telling Fallah Bob off. And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man removes his head, and it's Nevaeh. And Nevaeh knocks her down. And then Havoc climbs into the ring on the other side and attacks Kiera Hogan. Well, she attacks Tasha Steelz, and then they of course flip over everything, knock everything over, and the heels run away. It was an incredible waste of time. It was really real dumb, and but I like Fire and Flavor. They're like they funny sometimes, and when they messing around with Johnny Swinger, they actually are funny because Johnny Swinger is legit. Like Johnny Swinger is funny as hell, man. Like everything he does is funny to me. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm easily entertained by this silly shit, but I love Johnny Swinger, man. And when he's fucking around with these girls, it's actually funny. But Fire and Flavor have, they have moments where they are funny. I felt like this kind of went a little long though. And obviously they were concerned about the litness of their test anyway, of their festival anyway. So afterwards, they were distraught about about Nevaeh and Havoc attacking them, and they said, but they still got their belts and they still got all the money. And then the referee said he wanted a refund, and they told him no refunds and ran off. So it was basically a rip on Firefest, which everybody knew it was going to be. So it wasn't like it was a surprise that it was something kind of corny like that. So we also got a paid ad from Tony Khan, which featured the most effeminate, sissified Tony Khan I had ever seen. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, bro. I don't know, man. But he's talking to Tony Schiavone. He's like, Tone, I missed you, Tone. I missed you last week. And he talked about Impact being like his personal fantasy league, and he stepped into the Impact zone, and all these other guys stepped into the Impact zone. It was real bad. It was real bad. It was real bad, real dumb. I want them to stop doing this. There's people who are actually getting behind it, I guess. There are some people who actually like it. Bless them. Bless you if you actually like this Tony Khan paid ad stuff. I hate it. He does not look good. He does not look intimidating. He does not look tough. Look, Vince is old. Like he does. He doesn't have the base, the power, the presence that he used to have. But fuck's sake, I just can't imagine him coming out, or Shane for that matter, coming out looking so wimpy, so weak, so wiry. He looked like he can't even buy a shirt that fits, right? It's terrible. Look at his arms, for fuck's sake. If you actually listen to the sound of my voice, go and find a clip of this where the way he was moving his hands was real effeminate. His body language is effeminate, but his arms and his wrists and shit, like, damn, his arms. It's like horrible shit though. Like, bro, it's fucking embarrassing. It's embarrassing for sure. So another match we got was Tenille Dashwood versus Rosemary. Tenille actually assaulted Rosemary with a camera bag, which I don't know why she had a camera bag, considering she takes almost all her pictures on her phone. Anyway, Rosemary won the match, and later, Rosemary got into it with Larry D. So Larry D is back from jail. He was the guy who actually shot Johnny Bravo, but he blamed AC Romero, bailed him out, I guess. But Larry D blamed Rosemary for him going to jail, because Rosemary is the one who put a spell on him that makes him turn into Lawrence D. So it was really Rosemary's fault that he shot Johnny Bravo. So after Rosemary's match, she runs into Larry D in the back, and they exchange some words. And after they argue, Larry D punched out Crazy Steve because he can't hit a woman. He said he doesn't hit women, so he punched out Crazy Steve for no reason. And then Rosemary hissed at him, and he turned and walked away. That's what happened. Good God, bro. Anyway, so the next thing that took place was Deonna Purrazzo. She was, I love Deonna Purrazzo, I really do. She was celebrating her win over Taya and was ecstatic that Taya is going to jail and she doesn't have to deal with her anymore. So she was so happy. And so Jazz and Jordan Grace approached because Susan and Kimberly were bragging about their win over Jazz and Jordan Grace. And so they got into a war of words, and Susan challenged Jordan Grace to a match one-on-one next week. And that's going to put a lot of butts in the seats, I gather. And the last thing worth talking about, well, the next thing worth talking about, because there's two more things. Chris Sabin and James Storm said that they're not done with Private Party and the Good Brothers. And apparently they're going to keep teaming together until Alex Shelley returns. And Chris Sabin, it can't keep up with James Storm, as James Storm drinks. So James Storm is such a heavy drinker that, you know, Chris Sabin can't keep up. So then the last thing to talk about, Joe Doring defeated Cousin Jake. It was short. It was dominant. Joe Doring just crushed this guy. Of course, Diener and Eric Young stomped Cousin Jake after the match. They beat him up. They was going to Pillmanize his leg, which explains why none of his, even though Tommy Dreamer, again, was a friend of his just a couple weeks ago, didn't come out to help him. But Rhino got Pillmanized. You know, they put the chair on his leg and jumped from the top rope on it. And they were going to do the same thing to Cousin Jake. So they put the chair on his leg, and they were going to jump on his leg, and then Eric Young rethought it. He kept yelling, the world belongs to us, it doesn't belong to you. The world belongs to us, it doesn't belong to you. And he put a Violent by Design, which is their group name, a towel on his chest. And of course the commentators were like, is this an offer to join the group? And I was saying to myself, it might be. It might be. Now, this is actually interesting, you know. I don't like it because you just really started separating this guy from Diener, Cody Diener, and now you're going to just basically put them back together. But so I don't really like that. But it was at least an interesting. It wasn't just these guys doing the same thing over and over again. They're actually trying something different. They're actually apparently looking to expand. So, okay, that's Impact Wrestling for January the 26th of 2021. Not exactly my favorite episode of Impact. Impact is a tough show to get through. It's tough because they don't put any real effort into these matches. Like, they just put people on screen. Like, they don't, you know, book any of the top guys to do top guy shit. You know, but they lucky Trey Miguel came back, so that's a good thing. And they look to have somebody else coming in that's going to help Rohit Raju, but if they're going to be involved with Rohit Raju, it's almost a guarantee there's going to be some undercard shit and not anything main event. So they really need some main event talent, and I guess AEW is not going to carry the load for them anymore. Now I guess people can stop pretending like they care about Impact. But at least they got Trey Miguel back. You know, that's a positive. But let me know what you guys thought if you watched this show. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Use the hashtag 3commentaries to support the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Yeah.